Welcome to the Take2Crew podcast. I am your co-host, Tariq.
Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy, Mike.
We are back for another episode. We have been going for a little, but we back with the jump off. Goons in the club, get something jump off.
Wow.
And my light. And my light. My light.
All right. You lit.
What's good with you, big dog?
You lit. Not, man. I'm chilling, man. I'm back. I'm back to be recording, man. It's been a while since the new year.
Yeah.
And it's
7 weeks. 7 whole wild, adventurous weeks. But we are here.
Yeah. It's been a lot.
Yeah, we're here, man. So what you want to start off with?
First, I just want to start by saying I want to thank everybody for reaching out to me. For those who don't know, my son passed, 2 years old. Unexpectedly, it was a tragedy. But I appreciate every text message, every phone call, every prayer, every card. I read every last one of them. Just keep us in prayer, man. You know, it's trying time, but you know, things like this become therapeutic for me. So it makes me feel real good knowing that people not only just listening to us, but they're concerned about our lives and our families too. So I definitely appreciate that. So
it was definitely a wild ride, and I think it's a testament of friendship too, because you know, life unexpectedly things happen, and you just have to adjust. So you know, thank God for for us having people around that really care. Yeah, again, thanks everybody who prayed for Mike and just kept him uplifted and encouraging words. But this is something. Well, I might as well just go into friendship because, and these are the things of friendship that you never prepare for, because when you're a kid, you know, friendship is like for us is walking to school with each other, talking on the phone, playing games with each other, talking about girlfriends. But then when you're 20 plus years in, we're talking about marriage, life situations, losing my mother. This is Mike's first experience with like a serious death in his family that was close. You know, people died, but it was crazy, man. And you know, life happens. So, but it's a testament. 20 years of friendship, you never know what's going to happen. Highs, lows, ups and downs.
Very true, man. Yeah.
So, yeah, man. But let's talk about. Go ahead.
It's just funny because you talk about everything we've witnessed as far as death, whether it be natural or spiritual. You never realize how those things are going to play out in the long run as you grow up. Like you said, we were talking about, it was just a couple years ago, we were building your kid's bunk bed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And talking about this prior to it happening, and then we got to that point, and then we tried a few other things, and it just continued to just grow. You know what I'm saying? And when tragedy strikes, it's crazy because that's when I believe you see who those people are. You know what I'm saying? Our last conversation we had on the show, we talked about letting people go and expectations that we have on them and things of that nature.
Yeah.
It was so heartfelt to see people who I was like, I'm just a bus driver in their life. The way they pulled back up and was, there as if it was never, they never missed a beat. So, they say tragedy has a way of bringing people together, but it's definitely a true test in friendship, and I definitely appreciate, your willingness to, get up and go. You left your family to be here, and I appreciate that, anybody that's listening, if you have somebody like that, at a drop of a dime, no matter what they're going through, they're able to put your needs first. You make sure you acknowledge that, and you make sure you be that person too. All right, because that's important that it goes both ways. You can't just go, oh, you've been there for me, you've been there for me, you've been there for me. It's your turn now, and you got to be just that.
Yeah. What's crazy is that Sunday we did the podcast, we did the episode, and we're talking. And at the time, everything there's nothing wrong. We're the week is going by. We share. Okay, we're gonna talk about this the next upcoming week, just as regular life. And then the situation happens. The next day, that Friday, I'm sitting in my store, and company tell me they don't need me no more. Right? So I call. So I don't want to talk to Mike about this. Like Mike is going through an extreme situation. So Mike is like, man, we enough talk about me, man. What's going on with you? I was like, man, I don't got a job no more. But hey, listen, the focus, the light is going crazy. The focus is on you, Mike. Don't worry about me. I'll be all right. But the focus is on you. So that was like a wild adventure in itself. But yeah, man, life legit has its way of just happening. That's why I really don't believe in saying, yo, what's the worst that could happen? Because man, you never know, and you expect it to be one thing, and it could be something totally different. This light is
That's
trying to
true.
work everything.
That's
Yeah, man.
definitely
So
true.
it just happened, and even the situation with like with my job, like God will give you your creator, whoever you believe in, whatever your faith is based on. You will see the signs, and I seen the signs months ago, and we went to Atlanta, talked to Mike and Akeem, already talked to my family. I'm already making the transition to leave. And God was like, let me give you a little kick in the rear, get you out of here a little sooner. So went from one place to another. And it just life happened. But even being in New Jersey, man, it was a testament of uh, just being there for somebody else. I've gone through so much and trying to having somebody be there for you, but to turn around and you can't be emotional because I'm Mike's emotional support. I can't be here crying all the time. So like the one time it almost happened, I'm looking at him like, yo, I'm trying to get it together. I'm trying to keep it together. But like just being there for the short time that I was there, like the focus was making sure that he was good. Lost my wallet. got, got to the airport, thought the pack of gum was my wallet, had to get strip search. That was uncomfortable. And I'm like, at least tell me your name before you start taking my clothes off. Like it's ridiculous, man. You didn't buy me nothing to eat or nothing. But like that whole experience is crazy. Trying to get back home, and then having to get like all my get my license back, social security card, all my debit and credit cards, all that stuff. It was a lot, but it was just life happens, man. But it was definitely a wild ride for the past 7 weeks.
Yes, yeah, it's definitely been a long 2 months for me, man. It's definitely been wild, but like they say, the show must go on. Unfortunately, I don't want to sound selfish by saying this. Uh, I have 4 other kids who need me at this point to produce on a high level. I deal with me
Yeah.
when I deal with me, and anybody who may have lost a child or a loved one listening to this, hear my heart when I say this. You can find strength and still being productive to your family. Uh, I have a lot of people come to me and go, I don't know how you still standing. I don't know how you still doing this or how you still doing that. It's my children. It's they are my strength. They are, they my rollerblades, they my wheels, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, anybody who knows me know I love children and I love my own 10 times as much. And they have been just that. The wind beneath my wings, if you want to go poetic or anything else for that nature. But I want you to realize you don't have to live for your children. You don't have to live on for your children. They're going to be proud of you regardless. I struggled with that for a long time, sitting here telling, I got to do this for my son. I got to do this for my son. That's a hard expectation. If you don't follow through and you come just a little bit short, depression seeps in. Now you're more upset than what you were. Now you feel like you let him
Yeah.
down and things of that nature. Don't put too much pressure on yourself than what's already there. All right? You just can't. Try to continue on the best way you can. This is my first experience with losing a loved one that I physically helped make. You know what I'm saying? And in that, I didn't know how to feel. Even in this very moment, I'm still dealing with it. But the more I talk about it, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
I didn't say the better it gets. I said the easier it gets. And you have to realize that, I have to realize that when my children want to ask questions or anybody else want to ask questions, I make sure that I'm level-headed enough that I'm not answering from an angry standpoint. You know, that's very important. So,
and we also realized that Mike had to realize that death is a business. So when Mike was going through situations, you know, ain't giving details. I'm just it's if you've ever experienced death when it's somebody close to you, you're gonna experience the things that he had to go through. A funeral home is like Walgreens. They're open 24/7, you know, and they are there to fill needs and keep it moving. So in some cases, you know, they don't have the emotional connection that you're gonna have. They may feel empathy for you and sympathy, but at the end of the day, it's a business for them. So sometimes I'm like, yo, Mike, you need this. He's like, no, I mean, I got it. Like, dude, like for them, it's a business. It was just
yeah,
strictly black and white, and it was definitely a wild experience, nonetheless. But you do learn a lot of things, you know. One thing I learned from death when it was my mother was that in some situations everybody just can't be there. So it takes a little while for you to have to understand, like, you know what, this person couldn't make it. You know, maybe it's their job. You know, we don't take things into consideration if you don't live in our state. So if you're not in Jersey or your schedule don't line up, you couldn't be there. Life happens. But people still send their condolences out. But when I was going through my situation, I was like, why couldn't you be here? Because the life still has to go on for those people too. You
yeah,
know? And then what I also realized is that some people don't really care about you, man. They just want to hear what happened.
yeah. Oh man,
All they want to know is just the details. They don't care about your
that's it.
family, what your children are going through, what you and your spouse are going through. They don't want to pray for you. They just want to know what happened, and then they want to spread that news and put their little flavor on it. So
It's true. That's
it's
very true.
crazy.
That's
It's
that's
crazy.
that's definitely exactly what it is, man. So, but
Like I
you know,
remember last year, Mike said, well, it was either last year or the year before last. Me and Mike was talking, and he was saying, we didn't discuss this either. So just you know what I'm talking about. Your neighbor was like, "Hey, when my boyfriend died, he overdosed," and so Mike tell me about it. I'm like, some random lady telling you, and then I'm like, oh, I think that's my alleged father. So to hear about death, and it could be possibly the guy who could have been your father, was like, yeah, that's mad weird. But it was somebody was just randomly talking to Mike, and when me and him started talking that morning, I'm like, oh man, look, that's crazy. That's also how I found out about his son passing away too. Like somebody was upset and was like, you know, such and such got murdered, and I said this person's name, and he was like, yeah. I said, oh man, that's my brother, I think.
mm,
So it's how life happens, you know.
yeah,
It just show you like you gotta have things in order. Uh, you didn't even know what your circle was until a situation really happens, and these
yeah,
people come in and they step up. Talk about that. Talk about your circle.
man. My circle. I first just want to shout out my circle. You know, about my ex-wife, Olivia, her mother, Jennifer, uh, Michaela Green, my mother, Carla, my sister, Chrissy. You never know exactly who's on your team until something happens, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah,
Whether it's a wedding, in my case, a funeral, a back to school party. You never know who's there, you know what I'm saying, until something happens. And the way the rally was just amazing. And I was like, oh snap, you know, like you said, funeral, this is a business, you know, these are workers who want to get paid, and things that you don't think about when you're sitting down. You're literally you're literally this is a presentation for everybody else to see this loved one last time, and you want
yeah,
to make sure that everything is correct. You know what I'm saying? But the rally of them, just even things that I didn't even ask for, things I didn't think about, uh, it was done before I even spoke about it. It was done before, you know, I even could say, hey, what about this? They go, we took care of that. I was like, cool, you know. So that right there is a little bit. It makes the situation of grieving a little bit easier as well because you're not worrying about doing everything at once. I know sometimes as those who are grieving, they want to do everything. No, he wanted this way and they wanted that way, and you don't know. And
Yeah.
like you don't know how you're going to feel until you're in that position. You know, if you would have told me with that when the year hit, my son would have died at 2. Come on, it's not reasonable. It's not. I wouldn't even believe it. You know what I'm saying? Because my thing is still to this day, my kids just don't die. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, it's a reason and everything. I'm still trying to find that reason. But nonetheless, you said something, but I forgot exactly what it was. But what I want to just piggyback on, as a man and as a mother, how important it is, just as a parent in general, I'm gonna say it that way, for you to know your kids. You know what I'm saying? The when I had to do all this process, it had me realize that there were certain things in my children's life that I was just absent from. And when I say absent, I don't mean I wasn't around. I mean I overlooked it in a certain thing, you know, because as a man, you're the covering, you're the head, you're protecting your family. In the instance like this, when I'm answering certain questions, I just didn't know. You know, like when's the last time your kids had a shot? You're like, I don't know. You know, mom usually does that. As a man,
Same here.
you know what I'm saying? As a
Yep.
father, we got to learn. We got to know these kind of things, not just because of a tragic situation, but if mom can't go one day and you have to answer these questions, you need to know.
Yeah.
You need to know as a father what your children are allergic to. You can't be calling mom every day, whether it's your wife, your girlfriend, or your ex, whoever. You can't be calling them every day and saying, hey, Junior can't eat peanuts, right? Oh, snap. What happened to eat peanuts? Oh, I got to go to the emergency room. You know what I'm saying? It's just not a good look.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm grateful I've never been in that position, but certain questions where I didn't know where the social security cards were. I didn't know where the birth certificates and stuff were because these things as a father, I didn't think about. You know what I'm saying? In my head, I'm like, rent's paid, car got gas in it, I'm going to work, there's money in bank account. I did my job. But when it comes to things like, as a father, you got daughters. When was your daughter's last? When did your daughter start her cycle? You're like,
I don't
oh,
know.
you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Things that may seem so small are so important on paperwork. It just and paperwork is everything. I learned that so much throughout this whole situation. Like from what you can do, what you can't do, what you can have, what you can't have. If it wasn't for my team of people, I mean, everybody, I probably would have lost my mind. I probably would
Yeah.
be still in the bed right now, just not even doing the show no more. We as men, as fathers, have to be in the know of our children, not just them being out on the streets and things of that nature. That's a whole nother episode. Just the medical history of your children. When the last time your child went to the dentist? Babe, when the last she don't like, we don't for those of us who have that relationship with them, great. But if you don't have that kind of relationship, you can't call your grandmother or call your mom to tell them to call the mother of your child to get this information. You gotta know the important stuff about your children.
Yep.
When they start going to school and they ask you the questions of when did your baby first start walking, you got to know this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's a development issue. It's a development to where they need to know what they can pick up to where you left off at. And having a daughter who's autistic, who's just coming around to the point where she's walking on a consistent basis, those things are very important.
Yes, it is.
When it comes down to it, you got to know this kind of stuff, man.
Yeah, I would say this. All right. So there's 4 stages that I've experienced so far as to being a father that helped me develop to want to be a better father. So the first thing I'll start off by saying is this: if you're listening to this podcast and you're a mother or a father, and there's things that you can fix with your relationship with your children, and you still have time to do it, let's go ahead and get it done. Transparency. My wife told me, sometimes you could be too hard on the kids. So you know what? I got to switch it up, because what I may think is parenting is not. My kids are totally different from how I grew up.
Yeah.
Their experience of growing up with a father. I didn't experience that. So sometimes when I think that I could be doing right, I'm not. So now I'm getting into the habit of talking to the kid, because they explain to my wife they want me to talk more. Okay. Hugging more, showing more emotion. It's okay for a man to cry.
It is.
It's okay. It's okay to not understand everything your kids are going through, but be there to just listen. So you know what? I have to figure it out. Being a father, being a parent, but I can only speak from being a father, is an everyday learning experience. I learned something 2 weeks. I learned something 2 weeks ago that I shared with you, and now I had to rechange another dynamic of how I parent.
Yeah.
And what I realized is it's something that we went through as children. When you don't grow up with a dad, right now we're both 35. So I would say from me, from 1 to, well, I could only say from when I was a small kid. I remember when the guy who I thought was my father the first time, it's a wild experience. He picked me up. He picked me up from home, from my apartment, told my mom he was going to take me out. We get to the store called Cowdoors in Jersey. It's by the circle where Marshalls used to be at, because they just moved Marshalls, because I was there for 2 days. It used to be a store called Cowdoors. He took me there, got me these Legos. I'll never forget, the Legos came to like $50. We get to the register and the card doesn't go through. It declines. So he's like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry, son. You know what? I'm gonna take you home. I'm gonna talk to my bank because it's late. I'm gonna pick you up in the morning." I said, "Okay." I didn't see that guy again until I turned 17, 10 years later. Right?
Mm.
So my adolescent time is as a kid was like, man, I want a dad. Where's my dad gonna ever come? Well, my dad doesn't play with me. My sisters have a dad. He accepted me, but I want my own dad, right?
Yeah.
Then you go through that part when you're a teenager. It's like, you go through this part where it's kind of like resentment, like, yo, man, I don't need you in my life.
Yep.
I'm 14, 15, I got a job now. I'm here. Why can't you be here? When you go through that 18 to 25 stage, and you're like, yo, I'm an adult now. I done graduated high school. I'm making something better than my life. I ain't go to jail. I'm better than what you ever was. I was your age, and I got kids now, and I'm in my kids' life. Why can't you be there? And then now you get to the point where you're in your 30s, and you're like, listen, I just want a relationship. Let's have a conversation.
That's it.
I don't need nothing from you. All I want to know is, what's my medical history, so I can explain it to my kids. If you want to be in their life, be in their life. If you don't make promises that you can't keep, because I'm old and I didn't forget the things that you said you were going to do. However, I do not want you to disappoint my children, because if I got to explain to them why you wasn't there for me, that's when that anger is going to come back. And I don't need that 7-year-old Tyreek, 15-year-old Tyreek saying why my dad wasn't there for me. I don't have the time for that. So now, in this new stage of adulthood, where my daughter's turning 14 on the 27th. I got 3 teenagers and a baby. And they're going through things that I went through, but I can't give them the same lesson that was given to us. Hey, yo, man, this is what you got to do. No, listen, I want you to focus on education. Education is important. All right. The last thing you want to do is be a teenager with a baby.
Absolutely.
We watch
I'm too
so
young to
many
be a
of.
granddad.
Yes, man. I still got things I'm trying to do in life. I don't need you. I don't need your little runt to be, tagging onto my leg. I got Savannah. I don't need nobody else. I realized, man, I don't even like other people's kids sometimes.
Oh
Like,
man.
and I went to school for early childhood education. Like, I don't like. I'm not a fan of other people's kids. Like, to a certain extent. Like, so it's a lot, man. So it's just this fatherhood thing. It's a learning experience, and sometimes we don't give the moms enough appreciation, like you said, because they have to know everything, and it's not supposed to be that way. But it's just that their motherly instinct it kicks in, and then we think that we have the mindset of we can just leave. We can't. We can't. Why is it in certain men? And you know what? I can be transparent and say I've had that moment in my life when I was younger, 10 years ago, Tyreek, where it was like, you know what, man, I could just leave and figure it out and come back. You can't do that. These children need you, man. When I realized that my kids had to go through therapy because I wasn't there, bro, that broke me.
Mm.
That broke me. I remember looking at pictures of Sky when she was doing like her dance and ballet when she was younger. And bro, that it hurts. It hurts, man. Like I should have been there for my daughter, and I should have been there for her grad. I missed her preschool graduation, so I make it. I made it a point like now with like where I live in Florida and my son is in New Jersey. But yo, whatever I got to do to get there, I'm gonna get there. I ain't missing no graduations.
Yeah.
A job is just a job to provide, but if you put your family first, God will always provide. That's been my MO for the past 10 years, honestly. Like if I put my family first, God's always gonna provide. And that's what happened, man. And it's been a wild ride, but being a father is not easy. And I can't say I couldn't be in Mike's position. I was there for him, don't get me wrong, but it was a lot. And I remember that Friday we were talking. I just got frustrated. I don't even know what I was frustrated about. And I was like, man, like if if ever we had a problem, Mike, we could just fight it out. We got some beef with somebody, man. Let's go out there. Let's go handle our handle. You can't fight this, man. You can't fight death. You can't
Yeah.
fight it. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. And we do not know the date, time, or the hour, right? And it's like, bro, we talked about being there for each other, riding to die, but this was not something that we signed up for.
Nope. No.
And I remember when my mom died, I cried 2 weeks straight. And at the funeral, I went to look up, and I'm like, first person I see is Mike and James. To turn around, and it'd be me and James for Mike, which was the wildest thing, man. It's beyond crazy. It ain't beyond crazy. It's life, and you just have to roll with the punches. And would I want to do it again? Absolutely not.
No. No.
I ain't looking forward to it. Life is gonna happen, but
Yeah.
man, I
I
wasn't
mean,
expecting to be like this.
I believe what it is it doesn't matter when someone dies. You're just never expected. You just never expect it. You know what I'm saying? Even whether they're like battling something that's a terminally ill disease, you're like, no, they're going to make it through. They got it. They're going to do it. They're going to survive. Whatever. You just never know exactly how you're going to feel when it happens.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? At the age of 8, my mom came and told me that my stepfather passed. I didn't know how to feel about it. That was probably my first ever breach with death. It was like I was 8 years old, and I was like, okay. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, okay. Can't do it. It didn't hit me until the funeral when I see my mother cry. Then you're like, it's the strongest woman I know. And she cries. We got to be better. We got to be better as parents. We got to be better, just as men and as fathers. Everything can't be on their moms all the time. So if you're listening to this, remember that. everything should not fall on the mom. And as a mom, everything can't be blamed by dad either. It's a two-way street.
Absolutely, man. And with that being said, we want to say rest in peace to Amari Drake. Love you, little guy. And Mike has an angel. So we say he got 4 in the blessing. He got 4 in an angel. That's how we look at it now. 4 in an angel. All right. Let's wrap this section up, and then we're gonna be back with another topic.